Hello, Deep Mindfulness Collective. This right here, right now, is the black inky void of a computer that is failing to work. Let's see if we can get this sucker to hit it. Nope. Okay, 1 second. We'll try it one more time. Okay. And we're in. Welcome, folks. Lovely to see you here as always. We've made it, and my headphones just broke. What a morning. I was just now... Wow, they really did just break. Holy crap. I was just now locked... Oh, maybe they... Nope, they broke. I was just now locked out of my own... I was just locked behind the door. I couldn't get here. It was very funny. Folks, lovely to be here with you, as always. Let me know where you're at, what you're grateful for today. Today, what are we grateful for? In Brooklyn, folks, let me know where you're at, what are you grateful for. So, okay, I'll tell you now the story. I realized, oh no, I have only 60 seconds before this stream goes live, but I haven't fed Willow today. Sometimes she'll eat a little later. So I run in to get food for Willow. I throw it down. I'm like, great. And I go back to the door, because there's a door between here and there, and the handle is gone. And the place to rest, like there's a table next to the door, but it's on the other side of the door, which is where I put the handle, because it fell off earlier today. So I was sitting there going, oh my God. So I was picking the lock from the inside, and then finally remembered how to do it. Very funny. Door without a handle that is closed. How do you get out? Folks, so where are you at? What are you grateful for? We're going to be meditating today. I had a fun idea, which is that I have some students in our small group mentorship cohort, and one thing they've been having a little challenge with is detecting see in and detecting feel in. So I thought I'd do a meditation today, in particular related to emotion and evoking emotion in particular. So what that's going to mean is we're going to actually be using evoking practice. And part of what that's going to be is we're going to be using a video. Let's see if I can pop it in here so you can see it. Oh, it just says the thumbnail, which is very dramatic. Okay. Why is it suddenly... Oh, stop. Okay, there we go. Excellent. It's a video called Babies Laughing and Crying. We're going to watch babies cry. No, they're mostly laughing. But it's very good for tracking and looking at emotion in the body, because it's sort of sweet. None of the kids are really distressed, but the sort of up and down of the emotional experience is helpful to track our own emotional experience, because it's very, very fundamental empathy, and most people can detect that. So somebody asked me recently if I had, just two tools. If I could only give two tools on how to, and how to help people, I would pick see in and feel in. And so those are the two things we're going to be working on today. Hello, Nate from West Virginia. Welcome, lovely to see you here. Happy for people to talk with. Excellent. Nick, hello from quarantine at home. You're quarantining, pretty sick, but not COVID. That's great news. Grateful for being able to work. Anyway, a lol workaholic. It's funny, I had a friend who this is earlier in COVID, and he's like, oh, I got the flu. This is the second time I've been sick in the last few months. It's not COVID, but I'm sick. I'm like, dude, how are you getting sick? What's up? What are you doing? Everyone else is at home or masks on as soon as they step outside the door. What kind of risky behavior are you doing that you're getting a cold? So not that that's, we're all doing taking calculated risks. But yeah, what's up with folks? Oh, we also have the new text style here for our chat box. This is new. It's transparent, so you can see right through it if we need to. Okay, folks, what else is going on? Anything else before we jump right into our meditation? Meditation will be 25 minutes. I encourage folks to stay still, although because we're going to be having a because we're going to be having a monitor on the screen, I'll have you at different times look at the screen. So if anyone's just listening to this passively, this will in fact be a visual meditation as well as an audio meditation. If you really can't look at the screen, you can just listen to the audio, but it will of course be different, and my guidance will relate to what we're seeing on the screen. It'll still work though. Anything else, folks? Anyone else is from someplace, have something that they'd like to share their gratitude around? We'll begin in just a minute. I realize, again, I don't have the bell, which I think I'm going to go grab. It's right next door. I will not lock myself out this time. Let me grab the bell, say hi, welcome folks. Common colds have gone down dramatically. Oh, extremely. This is something I heard someone saying yesterday, which I thought was interesting. Like, since the flu dropped like unbelievably, right? The flu, and cold experiences dropped incredibly, but COVID cases were like, in the United States, like 500,000 people died from COVID. Or is that worldwide? Anyway, so like 500,000 people died from COVID. Had we done nothing, the assumption would be like, okay, well, flu would be up here, and then there'd be 2 million, 5 million like people passing away if we had done nothing. Maurice, great to see you here from Perth. Grateful for my meditation practice. Very glad to hear that. Okay, folks, give me 10 seconds. I'm going to grab this bell. Ooh, my headphones broke again. Looks like I need to... All right, folks. Well, listen, subscribe to the channel. I need some new headphones. Is this like a fixable thing, or is this like a fully broke thing? This seems pretty broke. I don't know how that would... Anyway, neither here nor there. I'm going to get the bell. I'll be back in 10 seconds. I literally did it again. I locked myself in the room again. I have to pick the lock once more. Okay. Tie it up. Can I make these work for even just a little while? Oh man, these are pretty janky. Okay. Mental note. And let me see, last time we did some co-working. So I did some work while you guys, after the stream, we did a little, I just worked and you guys worked. No, I can't, I gotta jump right off. But that was fun. I like doing co-working. Okay, so folks, find a nice, Scott Nesbin, Bay Area, grateful for psychedelics. Excellent. I love me some psychedelics, especially when guided. I'm a huge fan of guided psychedelics rather than recreational. I know that's a controversial take, but being someone who's been sober for a long time, it's sort of ethically responsible to not be like, yeah, bros, recreational drugs. So, functional psychedelics. Okay, folks, finding a nice, comfortable position that you can maintain for the duration of the sit. This means arranging the body well, knees lower than the hips. This is also going to mean stacking the spine, and then we'll go from there. I remembered why I didn't have the bell was no longer in this room. I gave the bell striker away to someone for a gift for their birthday. It's a big birthday. And yeah. So there we are. Okay, we have another one. So find that nice, comfortable position that you can maintain for the duration of the sit. And when you're ready, we'll begin. Again, if people are just joining us, there'll be times when I'll encourage you to open the eyes, but the guidance will be for the eyes closed. And we're opening the eyes, and actually let me set this up so that copy, so that when you look in, you don't have to look at me. It will be how do I paste this? Oh, there we go. I'll set it up so that it'll just be a pure picture of the monitor. You won't have to see my face when the time comes. Okay, for now, go ahead and allow the eyes to close, and then we'll begin. Beginning by taking a few comfortable deep breaths. Just feeling the body rise and fall. Each time we begin a meditation, we begin with the momentum of all of the previous moments. So as we begin to notice the speed of the mind, it's likely the speed of the mind will be the speed of how quickly we were responding to our environment in the moments before the meditation, how fast the conversation was, how quickly we jumped into meditation posture. If we're tired, the mind might be slow. If we're racy, the mind might be quick, jumping around. So as we begin to physically relax the body, noticing this momentum, noticing the speed of the mind, sweeping through the body to be sure we're not holding any undue tension. So relaxing the head, including the muscles behind the eyes, back of the tongue, allowing the jaw to go slack. No need to hold it closed. As we allow the back of the tongue to relax, letting it do so deeply that it relaxes the throat and neck. Relaxing the shoulders and the arms. Relaxing the hands. Letting go of any attempt to control the breath, letting the body breathe as it will. Noticing the natural tightening and relaxing of the upper chest and upper back as the breath comes and goes. Relaxing the belly and the lower back. The hips, the legs, and relaxing the feet. And then tuning into all of the relaxation throughout the entire body using awareness, this open-ended, spacious apprehension to take in all of the body as one large field of letting go. And we'll begin by noticing areas in the body that do not have emotion. So these are often areas that feel more neutral, are further away from the trunk of the body. So the ankles or maybe elbows. Noticing if there's low or no emotion in these areas. If we notice any area of the body in these places or anywhere else where there's low or no emotion, we're going to label that peace. Peace is the experience of neutrality. In this case, we're limiting it to low or no emotion in the body. So if we detect none, then simply call it peace. If we detect just a teeny tiny bit low activity, we'll call that peace. So searching for emotional peace experiences in the body, labeling them, soaking in, letting go, and starting again. course, the mind is very good at showing us contrast. So if we look for places with no or low emotional experience, the mind may show us emotion, and that's fine. If we do notice any emotion in the body, we'll label that feel. So I'll do a bit out loud so you can hear what it might sound like in the mind. Peace. Peace. Feel. Feel. Peace. You get the idea. If we get distracted, simply coming back. Every body sensation fits into these categories in one way or another. It's either emotional or non-emotional. If we're unsure, we can guess. If we feel like this meditation is going wonderfully, or this meditation is going terribly, we feel that we are frustrated, we can't detect emotion, or confusion has us annoyed or a little sad, all of these are emotion. So even if you can't quite pin down where it is in the body, you can label it as feel. And ask, how do I know this experience is occurring? Not the thoughts, mental image or mental audio, but how do I know in the body? In a moment, we're going to make a slight change. Notice if there's any emotional response, knowing that we will make this change. In particular, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to allow the eyes to open. So go ahead and let the eyes slowly open, resting on the image that's on the screen. This is a video. It's called Babies Laughing and Crying. So even if there's any imagined expectation of what this video will be like, there's mental images of what we imagine we'll see, but those images are neutral. Images don't have an emotional tenor. Emotions do. So if there's any sense or apprehension or guess on the experience that's about to unfold, it's likely emotional in nature. If even looking at the image itself is more than just neutral, it's likely emotional in nature. So I'll begin playing the video. And just watch in the body. How do we know that we're experiencing anything aside from thoughts? How do we know there's an empathy or connection, given this experience has no words, just a raw human mammalian response? And we'll begin. So checking in, just seeing if seeing images, just images alone, gives any sense of any empathetic response. Just the change. How can we tell that at times the baby is happy? By looking and hearing just slightly. Can we tell there's any difference at all? Or is it just neutral, like the areas of the screen that are blurry? It's the same emotional response. Or is there something else? If we see and hear a transition between it being joyful and it being sad, checking in with our body. This is a direct body experience. Coming through our eyes and ears, and showing us emotion. Just observing the various emotions that flash across the baby's face, from confusion to joy to sadness. And of course, we have associations, our families, our children, if we have children, our relationship to infants. And these are, in part, thoughts. But these are also, by their nature, emotional. So just seeing this nuance. Allowing our internal experience to mirror what we're seeing. A sense of, I feel you. Of course, I know that experience. And watch as it changes. Yeah, I know how that feels. Once again, allowing the eyes to close. Again, checking in with the body for any feel or any peace. If we bring to mind the video, the images, again, these images are neutral, but our relationship to them could be positive, negative, experiencing. How do we know we like or disliked what we just watched? How do we know we cared at all? The mind will tell us that it's what gives us this information, but research has shown that the mind is often simply mirroring our emotional experience, trying to make sense of it. So feeling into the body. sense of joy, bubbly effervescence, or sadness, a heavier, sometimes stickier feeling emotion, any combination. Beginning to recognize these as body sensations first. Often similar to temperature, subtle shifts in the body. So staying with the practice, staying in stillness, allowing a tiny bit of light to enter the eyes, eventually allowing the eyes to rest on a single point as they fully open. Letting all of the emotional experience be held in spacious awareness. However that practice was and is for us, letting that be as it is, letting it be held in a spacious container. And in this way, allowing this particular moment to be the great teacher that shows us how we might bring this practice into every aspect of our life. So folks, speaking of emotion, I have a little puppy who has a little bit of a rough tummy recently, and I hear her right outside the door telling me she needs to go outside. So entertain yourselves, write your reports, what happened, what it was like, what you're like now, and get ready because I'm going to be answering your questions, and I come back in about 3 minutes after I help this dog not feel terrible. We've done meditations before where we listened, the dog in the back was like whining. It's really helpful because it shows this sort of emotional experience. This very raw emotion shows you that even without a linguistic part of the brain, we still deeply feel emotion. Okay, I'll be back in 1 moment. Please talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. patience, folks. Thanks for your patience, everybody. Because you're so diligently patient. No reports? Come on, guys. We have a little visitor. Look who it is. A little Willow for you. Yeah, she's got a little tummy ache. What's going on, Willow? What's new? What's happening? Do you like being on the TV? What a champion. Hello, little champion. Yeah. This is it. Look, you're live. She's like, this is what a live stream looks like. Wow. Little sweetie. Okay, go to bed. Down, Willow. Oops, you're caught. Oops, don't bite me. It's a strap. You're caught on a strap. Okay, down, Willow. Good. There we go. Okay. Alrighty. So we have some reports here. Let's jump right into them reports. Nick says the following.
Started out with a pretty massive headache and general discomfort overall. Wondered if this was emotional in nature but physically unpleasant and mentally unpleasant. They seem pretty related but not quite. Noticing peaceful, restful sensations for a while lessened the intensity quite a bit when I managed to stay with the more quiet areas of the body.
Yeah, so what that would be is that the headache itself would be a, feel out or pain sensation. But if we don't like it, which often there's a lot of us, it's like, oh, I don't like this, I don't want this. That we would say is emotion. Clinging and aversion is another way to look for subtle emotion. Just do I want or not want whatever happens to be happening. Oh, hello, doggo. So there we go. Here's Nick also says,
when you showed the laughing, crying babies, it was a bit confusing. Don't know if it's extra bad due to my condition but ATM, but I suppose I basically only feel if it's something pleasant or unpleasant, and then quickly goes to the mind to find out what this emotion could be, what it's called.
Naming, yeah. So I think that's a good point, is that the mind will try to name things and try to say, okay, what is this exact experience, etc. Pleasant, unpleasant is perfectly valid, is to hang out with that and just be like, okay, does my body experience this as a pleasant experience or an unpleasant experience? Liking or disliking. Liking and disliking are not body, normal body experiences, right? It's not, respiration, circulation, digestion, gravity, aches or pains, efforting to hold the body temperature. It's something else. I like it. Right. It's also non-conceptual because we know that for sure, because a dog can like something very much. It can like a certain type of treat, or it can like a certain thing. But that doesn't mean it's like, oh, well, technically it's Tuesday, and on Tuesdays I like to have this bone. It's one of my favorite things to do. In fact, that's a lot of the joke of like when animals are, personified in cartoons and stuff like that. They have human qualities where they have logic or faulty logic, and that logic is like, that becomes like, that's the joke itself. Any other reports, questions, comments, queries, challenges, or life concerns? I'm going to see the new Marvel movie today, the name of which I'm spacing on right now. I haven't seen anything about it except that it's new. Nate says, but I don't see my saying this on the screen. Wait, what? Oh, Nate, I missed this. Oh, it's about intent. Is that what you meant? Well, yeah. I suppose that's true. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I guess it's also that I think it's fine. I guess ethically, there's no problem with people using, hallucinogens recreationally or etc. I think that for me, I have to advocate. Yeah, you're there on the screen. I have to advocate for guided use because, as a sober person, it's like not appropriate for me to talk to other sober people and be like, oh yeah, just go for it. Like, as long as it's a good intention. So that's probably where that comes from. All right, what else? Oh, you're on Discord. Lovely. Let me jump on here, Discord. I forgot to open that. And then we'll go from there. Discord. I've had some audio problems But now I'm hopefully not going to have an audio problem. Okay. I am... Become the speaker. Here is the link to Discord if you're in the wrong place. The premise is that you want the this link. This is the voice chat. This is the, what do they call it? It's like a Clubhouse-like new feature that they have here. And, okay, we got a report from Maurice. Maurice says the following.
I felt the first baby's expression of sadness in my stomach. This disappeared when he was happy, and I noticed a slight smile on my face.
Great.
Later my emotions were mainly neutral because I could see these babies were not really in any danger or hurting themselves.
Yeah. So one way to find emotion, another great way to find emotion in the body as a sensation, as a physical sensation, is imagine those like laughing, happy babies, right? And let your face, your mouth smile with so subtly that you can't even see a difference. So, and you can actually like increase that sensation. It's like more and more smiling without the mouth moving. And it's actually just joy. It's the emotion of joy sort of creeping up in the face, which is interesting because I think often what makes people smile is that there's a sense of joy pushing up in the face. And it's like, oh my God. And it feels like it's like collecting, here, etc. But you can do that without even moving. And you can start to feel like, oh, wait, it does feel different if I do that. What are you scratching about, Willow? Okay. Nate, let's go back to see Discord, see if we can find Nate. Don't see Nate here. No listeners yet. Where is there some other voice channel where Nate is hiding off? Nope. Okay. Well, Nate, I don't see you here in Discord. So there's that. If you want to jump in, feel free. Oh, is the meditation hall or general? It's the link that I just posted just there in the chat. I'll post it without the asterisk in case you're watching on some other platform because it doesn't show up without the exclamation point. Okay, jump in there. It's the one marked live stream chat. There's too many things. We got to clean up our thingy-doodle. It's pretty ridiculous at this point. Okay. Beep up, beep up. Okay, what else, folks? Any other comments, questions, queries, quandaries, challenges, or concerns? Anything else? Okay. And if not, we can slide away into the dark. I want to make sure Nate is heard here because I'm not seeing you. Oh, there you are. What's the... invite to speak. Okay, you'll be invited soon. You'll have to turn off the audio on the live stream. Hey, buddy.
Okay.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, excellent.
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm doing okay.
Excellent. Thank you. So I definitely enjoyed that. It was I like pictures. We all like pictures. And I feel like that was a great way, as opposed to some other meditations. Well, not as opposed to. It's a great addition to some of the other meditations I've done with you, related to cause and effect and things like that, where I had to use my imagination for whether it be a kind being or a laser next to my head like I'm in James Bond. Obviously two different sides of the spectrum, and seeing pictures obviously sort of makes it a little less linguistic, I think. So to that end, it enables sort of raw emotion to come out. Nice. And I couldn't hear the kids screaming and crying that much, which I thought actually helped, because I didn't have to add that to it. But I had a couple questions. First, you just mentioned, and what I brought up about the two different aspects of a kind being versus a danger. What's neutral? And when I say that, I mean, is part of the game to not in awakening or whatever, if part of the game is to kind of not let our emotions take hold, what mechanism is determining, I don't know, good versus bad? Like, love for babies is a good emotion that I like to cultivate. Worry about something in my job that I don't have any effect on, but it's going to affect me, is something that I don't want to cultivate. Where's that decision being made, and is that just the ego making the decision, and what's the fallout of that?
Yeah. So the question of sort of where and the mechanics is the easy version, which is, I think, the best answer, is they're just being made. Something, some part, some aspect is saying I like or I dislike. It's just the system's sort of always doing that. It likes this, it dislikes that. A second later, it's the opposite. It dislikes that and likes this. So it's occurring. And as far as like the path of awakening is concerned, we don't need to know more than that. Then it is occurring, and we can find where it's occurring, and sort of these things are being made. When we start getting into like, what is making that decision, who is making that decision, or who is like judging those things, we're creating another duality that isn't necessarily helpful. But a related question, which may be buried in what you're describing, you tell me if this is related to what you're saying, is how do you navigate those and make those decisions, given the fact that you might have a different relationship to them? You might be much more neutral in, you see a baby crying, you say, oh yeah, that's nature. Of course the baby cries, but it's also in distress. And do you care enough to take an action, or do you just say, oh, it's neutral and I can just move on? So I don't know if that's part of what you're asking as well, is how do you navigate that skillfully?
It is. To that end, I don't know, by cultivating the nice things and, I don't know, ignoring, for lack of a better word, the not so nice things in daily life, am I creating sort of a false facade of baseline of awareness of life by
Well, no, because keep in mind, like,
engaging?
Yeah. So basically, from a Buddhist perspective, it's all neutral. It's radically neutral. It's just nature being nature. That's all it is. So then the question is, okay, well, if there is a valence, like towards or away from something, let's start there. That whatever comes up, like, any experience is in its nature radically neutral. So then can you just briefly restate your question if we just take that assumption that what we're experiencing is neutral, but the system, the body-mind, can prefer one thing or another. It can have preference for it, which we don't have to pay attention to, but it can prefer something.
So is it of benefit for the system to prefer something?
Yeah.
Is it going to, in the long run, increase global love?
Yeah.
It's another shitty metaphor, but just increase everyone's awareness of how, I don't remember what the word you said a second ago was, but how exquisitely infinite we all are. And
yeah.
how much love we all have is pushing the things that sort of engender that feeling.
Yeah.
It's pulling them in or being open to them versus sort of not. It's seeing them all as neutral. I get that, I think. And I guess that leads me to a kind of a separate question.
Well, let me.
Which is,
will you bullet point that question or pin it so I can answer the previous one?
Sure.
Yeah, just try to keep it in mind. So I know that if we get too far into the realm of like, mystical, whatever, it starts to just turn into the lyrics of Soul Planet, which is, painful for everyone. But what I will say is that we want to look at different contexts. So one context is the transcendent context, where we're just an awareness that flies through, reality without a need to exist as a person or a self or any of these things. So from that perspective, it's all neutral, and there's a big advantage to just seeing everything as completely neutral, but we also want to be functional human beings, because most people want to have lives and don't just want to be sort of a blob of meditation goo. Maybe some people do, but because of that, there's the other context, which is what we call like a relative context. So one is transcendent, one is relative. And over time, they merge together. This is a lot of Zen actually talks about how those are one thing. It feels like they're separate, and eventually we realize it's actually one thing. That this comes down to values. Again, it's the same thing about like what is important to me, what is valuable to me, and how do I live that. We can have experiences that are so deeply neutral, and they can push us in a direction that goes against our values, which it can happen. So we want to be aware of and cultivating things towards our values all the time, always towards our values, towards our values. And that's the general breakdown. And yes, there is an advantage to shaping the way we relate to the world in terms of and towards our values, if that makes sense. Because the human beings that we are, we don't transcend being human. We are still human beings. Those human beings want to live lives that feel fulfilled, and that fulfillment can be leveraged. Awakening can be leveraging in that direction, but ultimately it's fulfillment. That's the driving factor, and to be fulfilled, we need to be sticking pretty close to our values.
And then the next step is to be close to our values. We need to take a critical look at our values.
Yes, that's something I'm always recommending. Look at your values again. Go over them again. Most of the time, people call me up, or I'll talk to people and they say, "How do I make this big decision?" I'll just be like, "Have you done your values exercise lately, or whatever?" Because it's so impactful, and it's also that people can have a sort of rough sense of their values, but they're not really very clear on all of them, or at least the general constellation for them, what it is. And so someone will be like, should I make this decision? Should I invest in this? Should I buy this house and make an Airbnb? I'm making this up. Should I do this thing? It's a big decision. Well, I don't know. I can't say whether you should or shouldn't. I don't want one, so no. The answer is no, because I don't want that as far as my values. But that doesn't make any sense. So in terms of their values, they can say, well, but I want to have a source of income. That's a value. And I like, decor and aesthetics. So that's another value. So it must be a yes, right? I like those two things. That would definitely be a yes. Well, if you look at the whole constellation of values, you'll start to see, oh, wait a minute. What my family is very important to me. And if I do this, it'll take me away from my family for like 16 hours a day. And that doesn't work. So you would think, wouldn't I be fulfilled if I do this thing? But actually, we look at all of our values and realize, this would actually be antagonistic to a very core value. Some people, it might be family. So therefore, I have to consider that when looking at this decision. So absolutely, reevaluating our values is like essential for fulfillment.
Okay, that makes sense. And it's after 12. If you have a few more minutes, I wanted to sort of
please go ahead. Any other questions? If anyone has any, just type them in the chat. I'll answer those. Or if you want to jump on Discord, I can also do that. I don't see anyone else here, so I'm going to put in the chat right now a link to a values exercise. This is the one I use with all my students. That'll be in the chat now.
The follow-on question sounds like judging versus non-judging, the internal setting. What you're talking about is the neutrality is an internal setting of 0. Mm-hmm. I'm of the feeling that we have the ability to change I do data center stuff for a living, so I look at sine waves a lot. You got the positive and the negative, right? Mm-hmm. And then you got the 0 line, what we all talk about. Yep. I'm of the feeling, and I might not be right, that there is a 0 baseline, but that 0 baseline can be a different 0 baseline, either higher or lower than, let's say, the 0 baseline right now. Whether or not that's relevant is a different discussion, i.e. whether a future baseline or a past baseline is important anymore. Mm-hmm. But I feel, is there a 0 baseline that's above 0? Or is there an internal 0 baseline and an external higher setting? You talked about this in a podcast once. Yep.
Yeah, and I think another way
sort of related to this?
Yeah, I think another way of asking this, and this gets into pretty like paradoxical sort of language. So just forgive me because it's not gonna be a neat bow. But the question you're talking about, neutrality, like, is there a better version of neutrality? But I think it is true that we can have a positively valenced neutrality. There's, like, some people experience the neutrality of like awakening emptiness experiences as so dead neutral that it feels like, I remember the description I've given before is like, it feels like a pane of glass falling through the sky. Like, it doesn't care. It's just empty, dead. Just like there's nothing there. There's no other humans. It's just empty. And other people I know that their experience is actually that it's full of kindness and care, and this sense of emptiness is a universal love and connection. You can actually cultivate either one of those. This is the reason why I talk about kind awareness instead of just awareness. It's helpful and important to cultivate a kind awareness from my perspective, ethically and personally, etc., rather than just like a brutally neutral awareness, because I don't think the neutral is really neutral. It's sort of like dead awareness. It's not like more neutral. It's just more like kind of dead. I don't want to give it like such a negative, connotation, but so you can cultivate different kinds of emptiness, and that might seem contradictory because emptiness seems like it's just is what it is. It's universal, but it's not, because we're in human bodies and we're in human minds, and so it's not ever really purely neutral. There are some experiences that really just like ring true with that, but you return from those experiences. This is something Shinzen said once, which I found very remarkable, where he said, you always come back. You always come back. No matter how far or deep you go, you come back, and this is the world you need to live in. So what kind of awakening, this is sort of, I'm now adding to what he's saying, like, what kind of awakening do you want? And to make that decision, you typically don't want to just want the one that other people want. You want the one that fits for you and your values. And for me, that comes back to, well, I have to look at my values, and then I can decide, is this the one that I want? Or do I want to move in a different direction?
That last comment makes a lot of sense. And it goes back to one of the very first things I remember from you is kind of the informed consent at different levels of where you're headed with sort of an awakening, and why, even though it made no sense to me at first and probably to others, why the hell are we talking about values? That's not what I came here for.
Yep.
But if you get to a point where you have a decision to make, decision maybe not being the best word for it,
mm-hmm.
having that infrastructure, that scaffold in place to inform that new awareness is pretty fascinating. Cool, man.
It's essential. And I'll also say that if you talk about like a sine wave, like, it's positive or negative depending on like where it lands on the graph. What if there was no zero? Like, what if there was no zero line, and that could be anywhere at all? And you're trying to look at a graph, but the zero line, the sort of line that it could be above or below, could be anywhere in any direction, not just up and like left and right. It could be up, down, front, back, any direction. It's like, well, you couldn't track anything. You couldn't map anything because there's no starting point, right? That you follow so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're entering into territory where self and world merge, and there is no inside or outside, there is no self and world, there is no time can break down, a sense of space can break down, our entire narrative of our lives suddenly is gone. All of those things give us direction, a sense of center, a sense of who we are, and that stuff can just get obliterated. Well, what the hell how could you possibly navigate life without any direction of any kind? It's a conundrum people come to. They're like, I don't even want to, help people or eat food or take one more step. I remember I was had a very, very deep experience on a retreat once, and I couldn't will myself to take a step. I was walking and something hit me incredibly hard, and I was just like, I can't walk, and I didn't care, and I just couldn't find the will to move anymore. And I was like, well, am I stuck here from now on? And I was like, okay, am I going to be a vegetable and people will feed me because I'm so completely satisfied? I just don't have the will to move. And interestingly, in terms of values, the thing that finally got my motor function kind of going and I could take another step and sort of move was I remembered I'd committed to someone else that I would be in a place at a certain time. And I said, it is important to me, it is a value to me to keep my commitments. Now, it wasn't like thinking like that this had cosmic implications, right? But this is what happened. And so I used that to get my body to be like, okay, for that reason, let your body walk, let your body do the thing. And it took me like a half hour to go 60 yards. I could barely get myself to move, but eventually it sort of kicked back on and I could sort of use different values to propel myself. And often people have an experience where they have no interest in doing anything. They're just like, there's all these stories, Eckhart Tolle, his story is like he just was like on a bench and he just like didn't care, just like was there for a year and just like didn't he's homeless, saying hello to people, whatever. So how do you propel a whole life if things are really deeply neutral? Well, you propel them by your values. And you don't want to be propelled by someone else's values. This is where like a lot of the weird cult stuff comes in, because if you're propelled by someone else's values, that just shapes what you do and the way you think. So values end up being that zero line. And it's very strange because usually our zero line is fear and anxiety and worry and like trying to manage how we feel about all this stuff. And when that goes away, I don't actually care. I don't care if people are mad at me. This is something that happened to me. I suddenly didn't care if anyone was upset if I didn't turn in a project. And I was like, how do I do this? I don't care. And that I had to navigate that. And what I did care about was the sense of completion. I like that this thing feels like it's done in a way that's done well. I like that. And so I used that, and it was a different motivator than from the outside. Now it was tough because people were like, all right, where's the project? Like, it's like my timeline was different than theirs, but I had to find a different way to navigate the world than just stress and anxiety and trying to look good on social media or whatever. So hopefully that's clarifying.
Well, you may have solved my work problems if I can execute, but we'll take that offline and
yeah.
See what happens in weeks from now. I appreciate the input, and I'll jump back on to the Twitch.
Awesome. All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. Okay, folks, great. Lovely to be here with you all. I have to jump off. It's time to transition into other parts of my life. Lovely to be here with you as always. So right now, take a moment to check in on your emotional experience in your body. Notice if there's any emotion of any kind. If not, call that peace. If there is, call it feel. And we're going to transition to music. Music's also another great way to trigger emotion. So if you can even feel the tone of this music, like if it were sad music, it would feel a certain way. If it's happy music, it feels a certain way. So as this music begins, just notice if you can capture the vibe, the feel. I can't even hear the music, so I have to listen to it in my mind, which is funny. It's another way to have things trigger emotion, but so notice that now. If you notice the vibe, knowing that we'll be back here. I think this week's going to be a little choppy. I have a retreat I'm going to this weekend. Actually, okay, announcement time. Looks like there's going to be no stream. Wait, today's Wednesday. Oh my God, I thought today was Monday. I put that in the title and everything. There's no stream Friday. That's for sure. Thank you guys. But there will not. The next time we're going to meet together will be next week. Thank you for your patience and understanding. Folks, as always, practice well. Take care of each other. Have fun. And we will see you all very, very soon.